Audi used to be one of my go-to brands that I'd recommend to people. But then the car started to get a little bit cheap feeling on the inside. It feels a little bit hard. There's a lot more plasticky cheapness, and they stopped doing anything really interesting. But this new Q3 could finally make me love Audi again. Will it? Mwah! Thing is though, the new Audi Q3 is not cheap. And when I tell you the price of this exact test car with all options, you might have a heart attack. And that means that if I get this wrong, you could end up spending serious money on an Audi badge that doesn't deserve it. I'm going to find out if Audi is properly back, posh again, inventive again, worth the money again, or if it's just an expensive illusion. Lately I've been driving lots of Chinese SUVs, and from certain angles this could be one of them. So to find out if this is worth the extra cash, I'm going to poke into its build quality, some like big knob down here. I'm going to tear into the design, forgive me of my premium privilege. I'm going to see how useful it is really in everyday life. Oh yeah, and of course I'm going to see if it drives like a proper German car should. I'm also going to discuss this one particular feature right there that every other journalist that's tested this car absolutely hates, and I'm going to explain to you why they're all totally wrong, and it's proof of why Audi is getting inventive again. And then at the very end of the video I'll reveal the things that have really annoyed me about it. Where's my seatbelt gone? Why hasn't mine got that feature? It's mad! Before finally giving my verdict as to whether Audi is really back. I'm Matt Watson and you're watching Carwow. From the front and the side, the new Q3 doesn't really get off to a great start. It's weirdly anonymous for an Audi. You know, if you debadged it, it could be any make really, European, Chinese, whatever. So it just blends into the background. Now Audi hasn't exactly helped itself with the new logo, which is kind of flat and understated. Doesn't scream premium like the old-fashioned shiny rings. It's especially bad when you look at the entry-level Sport, which doesn't have the oomph of this range topper with the extra black plastic that you get in the more aggressive sporty grille. Even this particular car with its huge alloy wheels, the standard car just does 18s, and like black plastic trim and black window surrounds and black privacy glass at the rear, it still doesn't do enough to elevate this car from the rest of the crowd. The old Q3 had more definition in its metal, which made it look expensive. You know, it just stood out compared to similar cars, whereas this just looks like them. It's as though Audi's got a little bit apologetic. It's like, hi, I'm a Q3, please forgive me of my premium privilege. However, Audi hasn't completely forgotten how to do design. From the back, it finally looks like an Audi again with the cool light design, the full-length light bar. You're walking around and going, oh, what's going on here? Then you get to the back and you're like, oh, it's such a relief. It's finally looking like an expensive SUV again. And when you see what the front lights can do, you're either going to think it's very, very cool, or Audi has totally lost the plot and created the most unnecessary gimmick ever. Audi has always been a leader in headlight trickery. In fact, they were the first to introduce daytime running lights on the A8 W12. But this car takes things to a whole new level. You can choose between different light signatures when you turn the car off. But that's not all. You see, each main headlight is actually a little projector rather than just a basic light with those little mirrors in, and it can direct its beam and actually do animations. So you can choose between different ones. If I go into this, go for advanced lighting scenarios, when you turn the car off, it will project this ahead of you, or that one, or maybe you can use that one. The thing is, this feature is either very cool or a very expensive gimmick. And that brings us on to the price of this car. The new Audi Q3 is insanely expensive for a small SUV. It starts from just over £38,000, which is almost a £3,000 increase on the old car before it went off sale. So a jump of almost 10%, which is way above inflation. That 38 grand will get you into the entry-level Sport model, and let's be honest, no one wants an entry-level Audi, do they? With its smaller wheels and like the grey plastic on the bodywork. No, you want your Audi to look flashy and sporty, and so really you're going to have to spend the extra £3,000 to get the S-Line with its larger 19-inch alloy wheels, more aggressive bumpers, gets rid of all of the grey plastic nastiness, and you get an illuminated Audi badge at the rear and that full-length light bar. It's almost as though they make the entry-level car look miserable just so you talk yourself into going for the more expensive version. Audi does car psychology, because when I'm on the configurator, I'd absolutely talk myself into spending extra and getting the S-Line. Thing is, when you get onto the Audi configurator, you start thinking, oh, I'd like to add that and maybe move up to that, change that. And then you end up price walking your way to something like this car. You'll never guess how much this costs. £58,000! For an Audi Q3! It's mad! Mad! Mad. At least you can save some money off a Q3 through carwow. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the saving is right now because it changes all the time. So to find out what it is, I'll put a link in the description of this video, or you can click on the pop-out banner or scan the QR code. But either way, 58 grand for that. I mean, you know, I'm thinking maybe I should just have a Q5 or maybe go for something performance-y. This is the Q3 with the fastest engine. And so let's see if it's fast enough, because it's got a performance car price tag. Does it deliver performance car speed? This version of the Q3 should be properly rapid off the mark. So Audi says it should be able to do 0 to 60 miles an hour faster than a Mark II Audi TT and faster than a 3.2 litre V6 original A5. Now, the reason it can do that is because underneath the bonnet is a 2 litre turbocharged petrol engine with 265 horsepower and 400 newton meters of torque. We've also got a 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox, quattro all-wheel drive, and I wonder if we've also got launch control, or have Audi done away with it? I mean, launch control is really key, isn't it, when you're nipping about around town? But anyway, let's find out. In other Audis, what you do is go into dynamic mode, then you go into sport mode for the stability, sport mode for the gearbox, left foot on the brake, for the throttle. Have we got it? We have it. It said launch control. That hooked up so well. And this feels proper quick. My goodness. Oh yeah. 0 to 60 took just 5.4 seconds. Now you might think this is a bit of overkill. Sensible me says, you don't need this engine, just go for the basic engine. But then the other part of me says, do you know what? Life is short. Why waste time going slowly from 0 to 60 miles an hour? However, if you do think that this engine is overkill, there are some more sensible options. There's petrols, there's diesels, and there's a hybrid as well. So the range kicks off with a 1.5 litre turbo petrol with 150 horsepower. That'll return about mid 40 mpgs. Then there's a 150 horsepower 2 litre diesel. That'll return high 40 mpgs. Both those cars front wheel drive. Then there's the two 2 litre turbo petrols. This fire breather with 265 horsepower and a 204 horsepower version. Both have quattro all-wheel drive. Then there's the plug-in hybrid, which makes a 1.5 litre turbo petrol engine with an electric motor and a battery pack. That has 272 horsepower and can drive an electric power alone for up to 70 miles. It's the choice for company car drivers. So yes, something for everybody, unless of course you want a manual gearbox, because they are all automatic. But which trim and engine combination would I go for seriously if it was my own money? Well, to find out, click on the pop-out banner appearing in the top right hand corner of the screen, scan the QR code or follow the link in the description, because I configured my ideal Audi Q3 through carwow. To see the trim, the engine and the saving, follow the link right now. To be fair, even with the saving, it is still quite expensive. Thankfully, the inside of this car does feel worth it. Audi is back to its old self with interiors. In here it looks good, it feels expensive, it feels like an Audi. So everything that you touch is kind of soft and yielding, like the dash as well. And this particular car has this kind of racing material. Now the entry level model doesn't have that, but it's still fine. There's all these little touches. So if I look in the decently sized door bins, there's a little rubber matting in there to stop things rattling around. Like the way this moves, it just has a nice expensive action to it. So does the cover for the wireless charging and the USB ports in there. It's just, yeah, it just feels nice. Same with the vanity mirror, the way it just moves smoothly. The way that's damped, and the glove box, it's lined with felt once again, so things don't rattle about. The only thing that kind of drops down is this storage unit there. Look at that. It's like they forgot about that one, isn't it? Also, the plastic's low down, just feel a little bit scratchy, which, you know, is to be expected on this class of car. But let's not forget, this particular vehicle is almost £60,000. And that brings you on to the touch controls on the steering wheel. So you sort of press the buttons, but you also swipe them, and they're just like one plastic unit rather than individual buttons. And they're just not that nice to use. I'd rather be having individual buttons. I don't know what's going on with this screen, right? And the thing that bothers me about it is the huge bezel. What? It looks like an original iPad. Is this 2010 or something? To be fair though, it's not that bad to use. So the graphics are sharp and crisp, it's responsive enough. And yeah, I know we're going to complain about the fact that the climate control is done through the screen, but it's not as bad as in some other cars, because this ledge here on the dash, you sort of rest your hand on it, and the actual controls are always there regardless of which mode you're in, so you can quickly access different things. Yes, I'd rather twiddle a knob than press a screen, but it's about as good as screens get. Then there's a digital driver's display, once again crisp graphics, and there's lots of different views and menus that you can look through. The only thing that bothers me a bit is the rev counter, because when you have the rev counter mode, it's kind of squashed and a bit small. It's sort of like an afterthought, and that worries me. It's like if Audi's kind of downplaying the rev counter, it's as if we're just getting prepared for electric cars which won't have them. That is of course exactly what's happening, isn't it? It's a bit of a shame because people who are keen drivers like me like to see a rev counter. To be fair, the driving position in this car with the feel of the steering wheel and everything, it sort of feels like it's set up to be fun to drive, but is it? The new wave for Chinese cars is a real threat to brands like Audi because they're expensive looking, they feel quite posh on the inside, they're packed full of all the latest tech, yet they're insanely good value for money. And this Audi is an insanely good value for money, but within moments of driving this car, my 25 years experience as a motoring journalist told me this is a car that's been set up by a company that spent decades and decades learning how to set up a car so it feels right to drive, and it really does feel right to drive. So this Edition 1 version has slightly sportier steering than other models, and it's really responsive. It also gets lower stiffened suspension, though I should point out that this particular press car has the adaptive dampers fitted as an optional extra. Yeah, the press office know how to show their car in the best light. That said, it does still feel quite firm over bumps, but not uncomfortably so, and it does mean that it handles remarkably well, and it's surprisingly good fun to drive. But if you're a little bit worried about like firm suspension, the Sport and S-Line version have slightly softer comfort orientated suspension but still handle well enough. And regardless of which version you go for, when you're just like cruising on the motorway, it feels stable and secure and comfy. Plus all models get acoustic glass as standard, which helps reduce wind noise. So it's a really relaxing cruiser. I've actually spent a week with this car and I've really enjoyed it. It's one of those cars that you can trust. It does exactly what you expect it to do. The steering, the throttle pedal, the brakes, they're just spot on. This particular version of the Q3 especially, it's a proper driver's car just wrapped up in a sensible SUV body. It's not some tall wobbly box. However, to really judge how well set up a car is, you want to see what happens when you put it into an extreme manoeuvre, such as an emergency brake test in terrible conditions like today. There we go, we have achieved 60. Coming in for the brake now, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it's slippery today. What we got? That's all right. 40 meters, that's good. And the brake pedal, you know, felt solid, and the car stopped well. It was all balanced. It didn't like weave around. It was very, very composed. And that's exactly what you want in a car like this when you're driving about. You want it to just perform predictably, and it did a good job. Now, there's one thing, many motoring journalists say that this car isn't that much fun to drive. I don't agree with them. For this type of vehicle, it's surprisingly good fun. And there's another thing that I do not agree with the motoring herd on, and that's the controversial steering column stalks. Now, every car for decades has had two boring stalks, one controlling the lights, one controlling the wipers, every car the same. This Audi isn't that. So on the left hand side you have your high beam, you have your wipers and your green washes. On the other side you have your drive select, rather than some like big knob down here which just takes up room. So instead you've got space here for things like cup holders and stuff like that. Now, every motoring journalist so far has complained that this is just change for change's sake, and they all hate it. But they're the kind of people that complain that car manufacturers make cars exactly the same as each other, and then they complain when someone tries to do something different. They're the same people who moan at Peugeot for having the small steering wheel with the dials above it. I like that as well, and I'm going to tell you why they're wrong about this stalk. Having the drive select on the steering wheel is the right place, because you don't have to take your hands off the wheel to operate it. You know, you're not reaching down there, and it just makes it quicker when you're suddenly doing like forwards and backwards maneuvers. You can go from drive to reverse super quickly, unlike with the VW, which also has the drive select on the steering column. There you have to take your hand off the wheel because it's like a rotate system rather than just an up and down like on this Audi. But the best bit is on the other side, so this stalk. Now, it does take a little bit of getting used to where things are, but it's all very intuitive. So you've got your flash there, easy indicator to operate like that. You've got your screen washes, one for the rear, one for the front like that, and then you've got this cool little dial which you use to set the different wiper speeds. Super simple once you're used to it, and I think this is a really good, rare example of innovation which makes the car just a little bit more practical. But is the rest of it practical enough? The Audi Q3 is properly practical in the back seats. It really is genuinely comfy and roomy enough for adults. So knee room's good, head room's good, and what I particularly like is that the seat is quite far from the floor, so you get lots of under thigh support. It's really nice. Another thing about the raised seat is that it means that when you're like putting your child in a baby seat and you're trying to strap them in, that's always a struggle. You're not really like bending down like you would be in a normal hatchback, doing your back in. Speaking of which, if you're fitting Isofix seats, the points are very easy to get to. There's even Isofix in the front front passenger seat. Other useful practical features are like the decent sized door bins and a couple of USBs there as well. Now the only slight problem is if you try to carry 3 adults in the back at once, it really is a bit of a squeeze. If you want to do that more regularly, then I would suggest getting something like a Volkswagen Tiguan, which is a little bit bigger. And to see my full in-depth video review of that, click up there or scan the QR code on screen or follow the link in the description of this video. But do you know what? Most people are going to be 2 adults in the front, their kids in the back and the occasional grandparent, and who's going to be really that disappointed if the in-law is a touch uncomfy. And there's another win with this car as well. The back seats, so they recline a bit like that, right? So, yeah. But also you can slide the bench forwards and backwards like that. So you can either decide to have maximum boot space or limo legs for the kids. I mean, it's fair play Audi, not every manufacturer does that. And in this kind of car, it really is a nice solution. But how often are you really going to have to slide the bench forward to increase the boot size? Audi has thrown us a bit of a curveball with this boot. You see, on paper, the capacity is actually less than the old Q3. That had 530 litres of boot space, but this one has 488. But things aren't that simple. You see, you've got the smaller number with the old Q3. If you did this, look, you spec'd the subwoofer, but now that comes as standard, and it's really worth having as well, especially with the upgraded Sonos system. You can really feel the bass like vibrating your internal organs, and there's actually lots of like useful practicality features in this boot. So you can fit the low cover underneath there. There's these different pockets here. You have in here a 12-volt socket. You can adjust the height of this boot floor. I'm making a right picture of this. I'm trying to do it quickly because it's going dark. I want to show I am determined. I made that look way harder than it actually is. Okay, so and there's this as well. You don't get this on every car. It's very much a German thing. Through loading. That's really handy when you're like, you know, going to the DIY store and you're carrying some long things. But let's check out the boot capacity with a simple carwow test. How many carry-on size suitcases can we fit in this boot? So come on then, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, it's going to be 6, that ain't going to shut. Let's just double check that that shuts with this. So we're at 6 at the moment. Go on, do it. Yeah. And now, let's use that sliding bench feature. So, Nick, if you wouldn't mind doing the other side, slide it forward. Let's do a little bit of recline as well while we're at it. 7 suitcases, 8, 9. Can't possibly shut. Will it shut? Right. Does shut. That is really, really practical and useful, isn't it? However, is this car practical when you're driving it around town? There's a definite benefit of having the Q3 over the normal A3 hatchback. And that's the fact you sit up a little bit more, so you see a little bit more. You don't feel like buried under the sea of other SUVs when you're on the school run. Also, visibility is pretty good. I mean, yes, there's a thick pillar here, but every new car has that. That could save your life in a crash. But door mirrors, they are really big and clear. The back window's actually quite a decent size, so you can see quite a lot out of it. And there's these huge rear windows in the back pillars. So a lot of cars just have like body panel so you can't see out of it. That's really, really handy. I mean, the only thing that really lets this car down is the gearbox. Sometimes can feel a little bit slow to respond when you're manoeuvring at town speed. So you get to like zip through a gap in traffic or pull out a junction and you're sort of left like hanging there. You know, like when you're going to give someone a high five and they just don't respond and you're like, awkward. However, there is one bit of tech that does help this car be easy to drive in town. It's optional though, so press this button down here, I get the surround view cameras and it's going to help me do this U-turn. Or is it? Oh, is it? Am I going to get around? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to risk that one for a biscuit. Do you know what? If I was in a BMW X1, I might have made it round. If I was in a Volvo XC40, I'd have definitely made it round because both cars have a better turning circle, especially the Volvo. Yeah, having to do that, a bit awkward. Now, do you know what, for me, it's not a deal breaker. However, do you know, if you're on your third 3-point turn of the day, you've got kids screaming in the back, what are you doing, Dad? You know, it can get a little bit frustrating. And that actually brings me on to the annoying things about the Audi Q3. Well, the Germans seem to think of everything, like ensuring that you have a continuously flat load floor when you fold down the rear seats. They haven't put a little holder or runner for the rear seat belt so that when you fold the seats back up, hey, where's my seat belt gone? You see these practical nets on the seat backs, the cup holders there in the central armrest, the lock on the glove box, that little storage compartment by the steering wheel, the lights in the boot so you can see what's in there at night, and the 12-volt socket I've already showed you. They're all part of something called the function pack, which is an extra £305. Not a lot of money, and so they should just make that standard, because what's going to happen is that somebody's going to buy one of these cars and they'll watch this video and go, why hasn't mine got that feature or that feature? They should just add that to the price so that people don't make the mistake of missing it. So it's especially annoying if you're buying a car through leasing, because sometimes they just won't expect that. They'll just take the car as standard depending on the trim level, and they just won't have those features. Stupid. While the optional heads-up display has various different views, it doesn't seem to always show the speed that you've set the standard fit adaptive cruise control with lane keeping assist to. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Freaky. For some reason, the infotainment system just starts talking at you. I haven't even given it a command, I haven't touched anything. I've not even said, hey Audi, is that the command? No, it just seems to pipe up. But also, I've had the car's infotainment system freak out me on 2 occasions in a week. So it happens when you're on a phone call and you've been on it for a long time. It sometimes just hangs up the call, but then still thinks you're in call, and then you can't listen to the stereo because you can only alter the volume on the phone call that you're not actually having anymore. And to reset it, you have to stop what you're doing. So pull over off the motorway at the service station and turn off the car, walk away, leave it for a bit, and then come back again, and then it just sorts itself out. Annoying. Leasing prices on this car aren't that competitive at the moment because it's so new. So for the entry-level car, you're looking at over £500 a month. For this one, over £700 a month. Actually, it works out cheaper to buy it, suffer the depreciation, and then sell it on than the total amount of lease payments you make over 3 years. And anyway, regardless of what you do, it's an expensive car. You might think, do you know what, I'll just go for something used, because for the same price as an entry-level one of these, you could have an old shape Audi RS Q3, such as this one I found on CarWow. There is obviously the risk when you're buying something used, though. You don't know about its history, and that's why whenever you're buying a used car, no matter what it is, you should always do a car vertical history check on it, so you can check out the mileage, make sure it hasn't got outstanding finance, make sure it's not been crashed, things like that, make sure it's not stolen, obviously. Here's an example of an old Audi RS Q3, which actually has a dodgy history, unlike the one I found on CarWow. So it's been in an accident, as you can see from these pictures, plus it appears to have had its mileage rolled back. So if you're buying a used car, do a car vertical history check and use the code CARWOW for up to 20% off. On paper, this new Audi Q3 doesn't make much sense, but in reality, it really does. It's a small SUV that could nudge 60 grand, and there are cheaper, comfier and roomier examples out there. But this is the first Audi in a while that feels properly expensive inside compared to the competition. And it drives like you want a German car to. It's not a wobbly box, and it's genuinely good fun actually in this 265 horsepower version. Let's be honest, if you have to value for money, you're going to be getting something like a Chinese SUV. And if you need more space, a Volkswagen Tiguan. But if you want a premium feeling compact SUV, the Q3 is an Audi I can finally recommend again. Should probably go for the 1.5 litre turbo petrol, but I'd want this one, the 265 horsepower 2 litre turbo petrol. It's such good fun. It's been a while, but this is an Audi I'd really like to own. Remember, if you're thinking of changing your car, head over to CarWow. You can sell your current car through us and have dealers all across the country bid on it, and you can buy your next car through us to be able to see how much you can save on the Audi Q3 and its competitors. You can do that now by following the link in the description of this video, or just Google "Help Me CarWow" and we will help you change your car. See you next time.